Check 1, 2. Oh, boys and girls, it's time for another one. Welcome back to another live stream. Good to have all of you guys here. Sorry I'm a little late. Last second I was like, you know what? I better hit the boys' room here because no one likes to be standing up on a stream and needing to go. I also spilled a little water on my shirt, so that's kind of fun. But how are all of you guys doing? Several people already in the chat. Let's see, who is first? Techeridis? Rosie, Greenlight Filmmaking, Cybox, Ken, Parker, and several other people. I also see a lot of the members in the chat and people who are frequent over on the Academy. So it's good to see you guys. Alan, I saw you in there. Alex Miner. We got Furworks, and I'm sure I'm missing someone else here that I saw, but good to see you guys. Especially Alan. It's been a while, man. Good to see you. So, welcome. We're going to cover a couple upcoming things, just channel business here. Then we're going to dive into questions, so cue those up and we will jump in. I do want to, here at the top of the show, also let you know that right after this stream, or, 10, 15 minutes after this stream, I will be over at Jem Schofield's channel doing an episode of Camera and Flask. So I'm going to drop a link in the comment. Here it comes. Boom, right there. We're going to be over here on YouTube, and we're going to be talking about our drool list. So this is going to be our dream list stuff. So if we had an unlimited budget, what would we actually go out and buy? So it might be kind of just outlandish stuff, or it might be something more practical, but I'm really curious to see what Jem has picked out. And we'd love to hear from you guys too, what you would choose if you could buy anything you wanted. What kind of lenses would you go with? What choices would you make when it comes to your lights, camera system, and other stuff? So that ought to be a lot of fun. So be sure to check that out. I'll post the link again toward the end of the show. And again, that's going to be right after this stream. Ben's not feeling good, so it's just going to be Jem and I over there. So youtube.com/thec47, like the little clips, right? Okay, so finger time, little quick story. And there's a reason I don't have a video out this week. I can't use this hand pretty much at all. And it's kind of a lame story. I wish I had a better one, like Peter McKinnon breaking his hand. He's like, I was out on some motor vehicle and I fell and it broke. I was peeling a lemon for an old fashioned. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Caleb, wait a second. Old fashions, usually you use a orange. Well, turns out lemon is actually quite delicious in an old fashioned. Adds a little bit of crisp, a little less sweet compared to an orange. At any rate, the lemon was already cut in half, so it's kind of awkward peeling it, so I could, zest and squeeze the peel, get a little bit of that essential oil action into the drink, and cut my finger with a peeler. Quite severely, I might add. Took a big old chunk of the knuckle off, so it's healing. Got a splint, so I don't screw it up even more. And little note, when it comes to knives, I've always been really good with blades. For example, this I carry with me. Oh, need to mute my phone. Let's see if there we go. Leatherman Wingman. This is my multi-tool of choice. It has a blade I pretty much haven't cut myself since I was very young on a knife. And that's because whenever I use it, rule of thumb, never cut toward yourself, right? Pretty simple stuff. But the more important thing and rule when it comes to blades in general, and I'm just throwing this out there just in case someone doesn't know, is you have to respect tools. That doesn't have to be just blades, but you got to respect your tools. Whether that's a C-stand, which you could really hurt someone with, a sandbag, a weight, door, really everything. You've got to respect your tools. I didn't respect the peeler, so I wasn't paying attention to where I was peeling, what was on the other end, how much force I was using. So just a reminder, respect your tools. Just like you don't go to a table saw after having 18 beers and just willy-nilly cut stuff. Think about where your hand is. Think about where the force of everything you're moving is. Kind of important. So, fun little note. It's amazing how a little peeler can completely side rail your life plans. So, with that out of the way, what are we doing next week? I had a video idea and it completely flopped. So, essentially, I was going to take, do you guys, what is it called? The Zoom F2, the tiny little 32-bit float recorder. I suppose I should, oh good, you guys can't hear me. Stop giving us the finger, Caleb. Sorry there, Alex. That tiny little F2 32-bit recorder, I'd pull it up right now, but typing is kind of difficult. I was going to try to make a tiny wireless audio kit using that, but I learned a couple things and I scrapped the video idea for two reasons. Number one, you can't have a wireless transmitter going into a 32-bit float recorder and get 32-bit float audio. By the time the audio is sent over a wireless frequency, it's kind of already baked in. You lose 32-bit float. And for those who don't know, it's essentially raw audio. That's the easiest, not necessarily correct way to explain it. But it's amazing technology. So I was like, all right, can't use two wireless goes going into this cute little recorder because I thought that would be a sweet setup, 32-bit float. Can't do it. So I was like, well, what if you put the 32-bit float recorder on the other end of the system? So you've got, a microphone going into that, whether that be a microphone, a shotgun, a lav mic, and then send that over the Rode wireless goes to your camera. Still getting 32-bit audio, but it's also wireless. Because the problem with those tiny recorders, like the ones that Zoom makes, Tascam makes some too, is you have no idea what's going on. You don't know if there's a problem with the microphone position, people's, shirts rubbing the microphone. So I tried that, but the problem is when you have a Rode Wireless Go right next to another device, if one of those devices or both don't have RF shielding, you get all kinds of hum and stuff. So I ended up scrapping that idea. Maybe I'll revisit it another day. So my throw together last second video idea, it sounds cheesy, but I found some great stuff. I'm doing a video, 20 gear items under $20. So that's going to be next Tuesday because this happened. So on Tuesday of next week, we're going to do that. 20 different items off of Amazon or B&H under 20 bucks. And I found some really weird stuff and some super awesome stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. That's coming up next week on the channel. And with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and stop talking about knives, cuts, and video fails and talk about your questions. So if you have any video questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm going to start reading the chat here or pick up, and we're going to dive right in. And I already see there's a generous donation from Nate's Film Tutorials. Super chat, $2.01 for the Band-Aids. That's perfect. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And yeah, another reminder, buy yourself a first aid kit. So I went up and picked one up, threw it in my car, so now I'm set there if in case something even worse happens. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to scroll to the bottom here, and we're going to jump right in. If you have any questions, drop them in, tag me, and we will go ahead and get started. I'm going to find a question here. All right, this is from Miguel. I currently own a Canon DSLR and am thinking about making the big jump to Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Thoughts? I've seen your videos on the camera, but I am still a bit hesitant to purchase. So let me know which DSLR you have. What you're mostly going to realize is the lack of autofocus, but also you're gaining an insane amount of image quality, resolution, features like being able to record to SSDs over USB-C. So yeah, that's going to be the deal is can you live without good autofocus? Now, if you're coming from an older DSLR that maybe doesn't have dual pixel autofocus, then I think it's a great move. And you can always try it, right? Always buy it, return it, or rent one. But yeah, great question. Let's see. What happened to your finger? We just talked about it a little bit earlier. For the one-man band, buy something with autofocus from Bing. That's a great recommendation. In fact, one of my upcoming videos in the next month or so is going to be the ultimate, of course it has to be the ultimate, right? The ultimate one-man band or run and gun setup. So I'm putting together the perfect kit. If you're a single solo operator and you need to move incredibly fast, be efficient, what's that kit look like? So that ought to be fun. What else do we have? This is from Rhett. Do you have a method of buying and selling lenses like if you use them too infrequently or anything like that? Okay, so if you're talking about me personally, I just buy and sell gear. In fact, I don't know how recent, I think it's been updated somewhat recently, but you can go to my website, DSLRvideoshooter.com. On the top right, you'll see a link to my used gear. I think it's DSLRvideoshooter.com/used-gear. And so I buy and sell gear all the time. You're just going to lose a little bit of money often. Sometimes you make money, but often, you know, between shipping and maybe prices dropping a little bit, you might lose some money. But that's usually what I do. Just buy and sell. I know Gerald the Dunn recently did a video that was sponsored by a gear selling site that he's talked about in the past. So I haven't tried that. I think is it Gear Focus? But that's a good way to go. Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, for stuff you're just buying and selling, I think those are all good options. Facebook Marketplace is great because you can just get rid of stuff without dealing with shipping and fees and all of that. All right, what else we got? Okay, we got one from Parth. I find the Ninja Walk extremely frustrating to master with the DJI Osmo 4. Any tips, hacks? That's more of a Brandon Lee, right? The guy that's like the ultimate gimbal guy. It just takes a lot of practice. Doing the thing, exercising too, laying on the floor and lifting your leg up like so. Get those knees nice and strong. Jared, what are your how are you monitoring with AirPods Pro without latency issues? I don't know, but it seems to work fairly well. I'm not monitoring myself. I don't honestly need to be wearing these right now, so I'll take them out. But I use this for monitoring the music of the intro to the show to make sure my timing's right for when I'm on camera. I use them for when I'm doing the next show, which is after this one with Jem Schofield on his channel, so that way I can hear them. But it's not perfect latency, so yeah, I don't really use it for monitoring. Long story short. All right, what do we got here? All right, CRN, Fairman. Let's see what he says. From your ultimate desk setup using HDMI splitter from a laptop to an external monitor and to the Atem Mini, do you have trouble with the Atem picking up signal? I am. What do you mean by that? You picking up weird? Are you having weird like audio issues, or you're just not getting a signal on the other end? If that's the case, it might be your monitor, because the way that splitter works that I talked about in that video, and for those who don't know, this is a way to, it's what I'm doing right here. Infinity Land. Let's switch to something where you can actually see what's going on. Let's do this. Okay. So what you're seeing right now, this is actually an external monitor right next to my camera, and I'm feeding this monitor from my MacBook into a splitter, which feeds this monitor next to my camera, and then that is fed into my Atem Mini. So in short, whatever I have on this display is also fed to my Atem Mini. This allows me to look over here, and if I see what I need to see on this monitor, I also know it's on my third input on the Atem Mini. Really awesome hack, but what I'm guessing your problem is there is the monitor you're feeding to. If it has a weird resolution that the Atem Mini doesn't like, or some strange frequency, like maybe it's a 75 hertz monitor instead of, 24, 30, 60, then the Atem Mini might not like it. So maybe try different cables, try different monitors, and see if that solves your issue. Tip, mark a few weeks before the expiration date of your materials in your first aid kit on your calendar so you don't forget to renew it. That's a great hack. Wooter? All right, what else we got? Any alternatives for the warp stabilizer? From Chris. I work for an architecture firm that wants the smoothest video possible. GH5 and a Ronin S. I think the ultimate setup is to use Catalyst. I don't know if it's available for Panasonic cameras. I haven't really used it, but I know a lot of people get some amazing results. So super popular setup now is A7S Mark III, and essentially Catalyst, this software, can read the built-in, what's the sensor for your motion in your camera? Anyway, it can read that metadata and give you insanely smooth stuff. So if you just Google Catalyst stabilization software, that's going to give you the ultimate smoothness. You throw a camera that supports that on a gimbal, gold. All right, Fujinon 16 to 80 f4 for video. I can only get one lens for my X-T4. What are your thoughts on this lens? I haven't used it, but my buddy Jem Schofield, going to be there after the stream. He's done a review, I believe, on his channel. So search for the C47 Fujinon 16 to 85, and I think he's done a review, and he's all video, so that ought to help you out there. Sorry I couldn't help more, but I haven't played with that one yet. Using a Canon T3i. This is from Gear Junket 35. Canon T3i, remove the lens. There's a scratch that adds a light blur smudge to everything. That's a relatively simple mirror box assembly replacement, right? Used eBay, 40 to 50 bucks. I don't know. I've never taken apart a DSLR and changed out the mirror. So maybe see if there's some videos online. You talking about stills where you have that problem? But yeah, that's a good question. Upgrading my editing system to support faster 4K and hopefully beyond. What is the best type of monitor to look for? I'm using dual monitor setup, but wouldn't mind a larger monitor. I personally have found a single monitor that is 27 inches or larger is how I like to roll. When you get into multiple monitors, it's just horrible ergonomics. You're doing this, or you're doing this. That screws up your neck. So big monitor, I would recommend sticking with the following brands mostly. Apple, if you are an Apple user. LG is incredible. Love LG panels. Their TVs are great too. So if you want just a, big old honking, 55-inch, 65-inch TV a little further back, you could totally do that. I love the LG Thunderbolt displays. Also BenQ and Dell. Those are kind of the brands that I've had good results with. Yeah, that's probably what I would recommend going with. So check out some reviews. There's a lot of guys doing reviews. Also, whatever photographers are saying, because those guys really care about color as well. So something that supports P3, full RGB, things like that is what I recommend. Thoughts on the GH6? Don't know much about it, so I really can't say. And we have a super chat for $4.99 from Tristan. He says, got a wall mount solution for a camera setup. I have a Kupo stud under my TV, but I can't find a good way to get the camera height right. All right. So if you have, first of all, thank you for the donation. Appreciate that. There are some, actually, I've talked about it. One of my favorites, I don't know what kind of depth you're working with or how far the camera needs to come off of the wall. If you have one of those plates, you could rig something up. So you could use a grip head, they're called. So you add a grip head to that. That gives you a knuckle that you can adjust and rotate. Then you could add let's see, what's it called? it's like a stud that you attach to the grip head. Essentially, what I recommend, if you haven't seen it already, look at my entire YouTube studio on a single stand or rolling stand video. In that video, I talk about a lot of the gear that I would essentially recommend for your setup. A way to mount the camera to that wall plate. Otherwise, there are mounts out there where it's like a friction arm. I guess the simplest way is buy a nano clamp. Let's just do this. Here we go. We're doing it. Let's switch over to a browser. Let's go to Amazon. Do a little shopping, shall we? So I'm typing in nano clamp. I'm starting to get slowly better at this picking. Not nano camp. Down one finger, guys. Okay. So you buy one of these things. Okay. Nice clamp. Pretty simple. This is a pair of them. I love these. I have way too many of them. You buy one of those, and then you get a, oh my gosh, this is still brutal, friction arm. Oh, they sell a pair right here. This kit right here. You attach this arm to the clamp, and then you clamp that whole thing to your setup. You can add a ball head to this. That would be a really quick way to get up and running. I would recommend the second you get these clamps, see these rubber pads they have on them? Rip those stinking things off immediately. They're horrible, and this thing will just slide all over. But that's what I would recommend. Really quick, down and dirty, easy way to mount your camera, and then you can use it for all kinds of different stuff. Otherwise, if you want something a little more hardcore, you could watch that video I talked about, random fuzzies flying around, and I would take care of you. So thank you for the donation and question. Your setup was amazing. Thank you, Bing, if you're addressing me. Lucas says, Ninja 5 upgrade worth it for the EOS R? Probably not. I don't recall. Man, it's been a while since I've used the R for video. I don't think you're gaining too much. I guess you are getting 10-bit, aren't you? It depends on what you film. So if you're just kind of run and gun type stuff, I try to avoid using a Ninja 5 because it adds this weight. The thing's really heavy. Add a battery. It makes fan noise. You got to keep up with another device. So personally not a huge fan, but I think everyone should try that kind of thing, especially if it gives you something like 10-bit. If it's only giving you 422 instead of 420, most of the time that's not going to help you out with much. From Dan, what part of your workflow do you live with for too long and changing, improving? Wait a second. What part of your workflow did you live with for too long and changing it improved your life dramatically? Anything you can currently do that likely deserves attention? That's a really interesting question, Dan. I mean, there's all kinds of things. I was actually just talking to my wife. Since I've had this thing going on, I'm addressing all these little things that just kind of fall by the wayside here in the studio. I would say, and this will never end. This problem never ends. But I would say the thing that keeps if you don't have a home for something, and I'm sure a lot of us have several things without a home, finding a really good, high quality home for that thing that is functional and makes you happy makes a huge difference. For example, lens caps and body caps. Since I review a lot of lenses and cameras, I've got hundreds of those things. The body caps that go on cameras, I buy them in bulk. Lens caps, adapters, and they're all just kind of in drawers and stuff and a mess. So I got a shallow drawer with a bunch of little dividers, custom made these dividers. Now everything slips in perfectly. Things like that. It might take a little bit of extra time or an afternoon to do a project like that, but every time you go get a lens cap and it has a home and it slips perfectly into its spot, so worth it. So I would say that's probably my number one recommendation. So when you have like, dang it, where's that whatever I need and I hate putting it away, take some time, sort that stuff out. Wonderful question there. Oops, sorry guys, I left Tristan's wonderful super chat up. All right, what do we got? I'm falling behind. Here we go. Own a 5D Mark IV, using it for portraits and short films, docs, school projects, etc. I'll still keep the camera, but I'm very interested in film and want to make a shift to a video camera. If you like Canon stuff, that C100 Mark II or one of the C100, C200 cameras, check it out. I did a review on the C100 Mark II on the channel recently. So I think that would be a really nice setup for you since you're already a Canon user. All right, switched from Canon to the A7S II in 2017 because they weren't quite there. Thoughts on carrying on the A7S III or switching back to Canon? I would rent both. Give it a shot. I think the A7S III is the first Sony camera that I'm really happy with. There is one problem with it, a really annoying one, and I'm going to cover it here shortly when I do my second A7S review, essentially. But yeah, I think it's a great camera. Try both, though, before you settle. Jump it down a little bit. I'm going to try to... Oh, boy. I'm behind, folks. All right, fellow Chicagoan just made 1,000 subs. Nice work, Rhett. Any tips to maximize my channel's potential to take advantage of it? Not sure on topic, but worth a shot. I would say keep making consistent content. That's the number one thing, hands down. I've saw a pretty severe dip here recently, and that's because I kind of botched the beginning of this year making consistent content. So just do that. Make videos no matter what. Get a video out a week or whatever your frequency is, and listen to what works, and do what you enjoy as well. Because what's the point of having a wonderful, huge channel if you hate making videos? So that's what I would probably stick with. Bought a Canon R6. How can I make the look more cinematic? I am thinking about getting a mist filter. What do you recommend? I think that's a great way to go. Black Pro mist filters. There's a new one that you twist and it does crazy stuff. I see the kids are using. And lighting and grading. So yeah, I would say all of those things. But yeah, get a Pro mist filter. Don't go too crazy though, sir. Stick with like a 1/8 power or strength or whatever that is. And we got a super chat from DJ Sucker Trash. I love that name, man. $5 Canadian. He says, is your solo kit going to include any bag recommendations? I'm looking for a solid backpack options for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K kit. Couple lenses, monitor, etc. I will include a bag, but I'm not going to do a bag shootout. I have one bag that I like that I know a lot of people don't, and that's the Peak Design Everyday 30 liter or 40, I can't remember. I think it's the 30. And it's not perfect for everything, but I love it. So I'm going to include that. I know Maddie Hapoya did a great bag video, and I would check that out if you're looking for a backpack recommendation. But I will be covering how I'm setting up my bag for this run and gun scenario. Thank you for the super chat, good sir. Appreciate you coming back. And Lou says, thank you for putting this together, Caleb. I became interested in the EOS M. EOS, Gerald. M after your review. I now own one. How do you feel about the M plus Magic Lantern? Is it its compatibilities and possibilities nowadays? Hey, for 1080p, it's still a great setup, incredibly affordable. Would I use it for my main camera these days? No, but if I was on a budget, that's a bomb little setup. So I still think it's worth checking out. All right, boys and girls, I'm way behind, so I'm going to have to scroll down. If I missed your comment, please copy paste, and I apologize for that. But we are behind for sure. And we got another super sticker, €2. We got the dog shaking his body from left to right, surrounded by red hearts. I love those text readouts. Thank you, Bing. Really appreciate that. If there's a comment related to that, let me know, because I may have missed it. Do you like any motorized sliders from Parth? I'm going to start adding the questions to the broadcast because why not? Yes, I have one, and I use it almost every single day, or at least every time I shoot here for the channel, and that is the Rhino Arc 2. I did a review on it. You can check it out on the channel or just search DSLR video shooter Rhino Arc 2, and I love it. It is great. It holds a ton of weight. Essentially, it's a motorized head, and there is a motor on the end of the slider, so it gives you, pan, tilt, slide, yes, and focus, which is really sweet if you don't have autofocus or don't want it. And I love it. It holds a lot of weight. You can customize shots, and my main feature that I dig about it is I can just set A, B, hit play, prepare my next shot while the camera is doing its thing, and it's perfectly repeatable, which is great. Boy, where was that? Thank you for making the review of the Pocket 4K Pro. Has me lean more towards getting the C70 next year. But I still want to rent and try both. Absolutely try both. But yeah, I think the C70 is a baller camera. Thoughts on the X-T4? I had my eye on it for size and feature set. Looks like a GH5, a lot like a GH5 with better autofocus, but not sure if I want to invest in the new lens system. Yeah, I'm not ready to recommend Fuji. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll recommend Fuji to people who want Fuji and are understanding what they're getting into, but I don't think they're quite there for video. Lens selection is rough. Just compatibility. And I saw that Tamron's going to be making lenses for their cameras, which is awesome. But the autofocus isn't quite there. If you're coming from a GH5, the autofocus is amazing. But it's one of those things you definitely want to try it. I like the way it looks, the image quality, but usability, I can't personally, I don't really dig them. So that's where I'm at with Fuji. But for instance, Jem Schofield loves them, and there's several people who really dig Fuji for video. So for me, it's still Sony or Canon, but that's the deal, or Panasonic, of course. Only saw the video production hell on the thumbnail. Well, darn it all, I'm in video production hell. Nice. New to videography, photography. Do you have a video that explains it in different kinds of lenses? What Sony lenses are the first to get for Sony's mirrorless full frame cameras? YouTube B-roll photos. I don't have a video covering just lenses altogether. I have a guide that's going to include a lot of that stuff coming up. But for me, if you're getting started, getting a prime lens that you really like, so something like a 35-1.8 or something from Sony, and then Tamron zoom lenses are awesome. So they're specifically their 28 to 75 millimeter. I use that thing constantly. It's affordable for a zoom lens, f2.8. So check it out. I have a question regarding false color. When I use a preview LUT on the monitor, do I check the exposure with the LUT on or off? Check the monitor, turn the LUT on and off, and see if the false color changes. You really should be using false color for your whatever's being recorded. So if you're recording in log, you should be using false color with log, if that makes sense. Otherwise, who knows what you're actually seeing. So that's what you want to be doing. And if your monitor doesn't support that, that means you got to turn the LUT off, then use false color, then turn the LUT back on. Best setting for the Canon ESR, yikes, that's a topic I can't really get into right now, but native ISO, which I think is 640 or 800, I can't remember, and then slightly overexpose. That's kind of your ball game. Are you going to do an updated studio tour video? Yes, that's coming up in the next month or two. So we're going to do a full rundown of, because we've doubled the space since we've been in this building. So we'll cover that here before too long. What telephoto vintage lens do you recommend for video? I really like a lot of the Russian 135s and 85s. So, man, if you just search for M42 135 millimeter on eBay, you're gonna find a ton of different stuff. Jupiter lenses, MIR mirror lenses, Helios stuff. There's a ton of different stuff. A lot of fun, great look. So yeah, that's kind of what I dig. Thoughts on Davinci Resolve from Purnell. I love it. I wish I had more time to learn it, and I'm still a Final Cut guy, so for color, really enjoying it, but I'm not ready to switch for editing. What's your advice on storage solutions for cables? I have so many. I could open up a shot from Dean. I would say what I'm doing here in the studio is I have drawers for tiny cables, and I have in the studio tour that's coming up, you'll see the drawer system I built It's using IKEA drawers. It's amazing, but a bunch of shallow shelves. So I've got a drawer for HDMI, USB, USB-C, yada, yada, yada. For the small stuff, we're talking a meter or shorter, or 3 feet or shorter. And then for the longer stuff, I ended up just using a pegboard. I know it's lame, boring, but having all your cables up on the wall, organized by type, and then labeling them, which sucks, but it's so worth it. Because how many times have we gone to get, an HDMI cable, and you're like, this one's too short. This one looks longer, same size. This one looks longer, a foot longer. If you take the time to get a tape measure, spend a Saturday and a couple of drinks or lemonades, or iced teas, or whatever, and just measure those bad boys out, label them on either end, then you can go up to your pegboard, bam, 25 feet, too short, 30 feet, perfect. It's so, so nice, but it does take time. So yeah, that's what I use, pegboard and drawers. Oh man, where am I here? I love your contents. Thank you, Bing. How's the new case for the Atem coming? Good, Dean. I've got some good and bad news about that. Gonna do an update here pretty shortly. Gerald Dunn has a ton of Sony lens reviews. He gets really nerdy with it. Yes, definitely check out Gerald's Sony stuff. I think he's like reviewed every single Sony lens ever. Let's see. Man, Alex Miner is up in here just rocking everything. Can I? No, I can't do that. Okay. Why do external SSDs always come in smaller storage sizes? I don't know. That's a good question. And they're really expensive usually, aren't they? C70 or FX6? For me personally, I'd probably lean C70, but there are some differences. EVF, I believe, is one. Full-size XLR, things like that. The C70 is designed to be more of a kind of a bulky mirrorless on steroids, whereas the FX6 is an actual cinema camera. I like the traffic lights. Nice. I gotta fix that flicker back there. And from Dean, Caleb, have you seen the new Blackmagic projects? Yeah, the 4K and the audio, the stuff. Yes, just recently. Yes, I did see it. Camera's weird. I was talking to some guys on Twitter. Just chop off the monitor, make it a little more interesting, and you'll definitely have more of a better cinema camera. Give us the cube camera, in short, that everyone's been asking for. But as it stands, not really interesting to me. So, good workflow for getting white balance on set with bicolor lights in ambient light. I don't find I get the color I like calibrating with a gray card. What do you think about color meters? Yes, a color meter is great because you can measure a window, you can measure a light, see where the differences are. In a perfect world, you've got a color meter, something like the C70. What is it? Help me out here. That one color meter. There's also ones you can get for your phone, a little thing that pops on. But you want something that can read the color temperature and the tint. And then in a perfect world, all your lights are bicolor and they have tint control where you can go green or magenta. Then you can perfectly dial everything in. But that's a perfect world. Otherwise, pick whatever's the key light, whatever's the most large source. If there's a huge window and your lights are supplementing, match it to the window. And it's still worth carrying gels. Buy yourself a set of gels, CTO, CTB, plus and minus green. That way you can throw it on a light and just get that get that magenta out of there, whatever the issue is. So, but yeah, hopefully all those problems will go away as lighting tech advances. All right, what is a good, we did that. A7S III, is there a con to mix and match cage parts? Does it matter? Do you have to go all in? I feel you pick a cage for aesthetic, small rig, contour, etc. No, you totally can mix and match. In fact, every single rig I build, like that one I did for my A7S III, it's always just a hodgepodge of different parts from like 6 different manufacturers. So pick the one that is going to give you the features you want. The 3 things I pay attention to is the top of the cage. How can I mount stuff to it? Some cages have awful mounting solutions. Tilta, for example, for the most part, it's pretty bad. They designed the top of the cage for their handles. Same with the bottom of their cages. They're okay for mounting your own plates, but they're really designed to be used with their dovetails. So take that into consideration. Make sure there's a ton of 1/4-20s and 3/8 taps on the top. And then the style. Is it a full cage? Is it a half cage? And what can you mount on the side? Those are the only things I care about. So sometimes I go Tilta, sometimes I go small rig, but that's kind of what I look for. What's a dirt cheap lens? Used is cool too. That brings way more value than its price would indicate for the Panasonic G90. Let me know if you're talking Micro Four Thirds or adapted. You said vintage, so I'm gonna say, I don't know, the Russian lenses are pretty rad. I also think, I haven't checked prices recently, but Canon FDs are just baller. They're just so beautiful. So yeah, Canon NFDs, the plasticky ones that are still super solid, is probably what I would recommend. Good question. What's good with the BGH1? Do you have a course on it like the other Panasonic cameras? I don't have a course on it, but you can pretty much use my GH5, GH5S guide, and it's going to be very similar. I would probably go with the other ones. They're a little more flexible. So yeah, but I like the cube shape. Have you tried the KMTV Boltzmann travel lights yet? RGB DT 55 watts. Are those the panels that go in the Pelican case? I do have a couple, and they're fine. They're totally fine. I wouldn't say there's anything like, oh my gosh, except for the fact they all fit in a Pelican case, which is pretty sick. Justin dropping a super chat, $4.99. He says, how long does KMTV mount power your perfect wireless rig? I still haven't timed that fully, so I need to do that for you, Justin. If let's see, I can't write it down now, but if you shoot me like a email or something on Twitter, I will attempt to go ahead and sort that out. I could do the math. You could do the math on the power draw and all of that stuff, but I want to say you've got at least, I don't know, 3 hours, maybe more. And I'm slipping behind again, folks. What time is it? Holy smokes. I'm going to have to head out here in a little bit. Nuts. I hate leaving unanswered questions unanswered. But I'm going to have to jump down toward the bottom because we've got another super chat from James. £10 or $9.99. He says, donate as thanks for 4-finger hand therapy unit, $80 used for 15 minutes a day until scar loses color. Had hand surgery. Best advice received from physician. No scars, full motion. Wow. Okay. Nice, James. I'm going to have to look into this thing. Hand therapy unit, $80 used. Wow. All right. We learn something new every day. Thank you so much, James. Really appreciate it. All right. We are going to have to call it quits on this thing, guys, because right after this stream, I'm going over to the C47. We're going to talk about our, what is it called? Let me switch back to this. Oh, this is good show business right here. Just waiting for the guy to click the thing. Here we go. We're doing this. We're doing our drool list in a couple minutes. The show will go live in about 15 minutes. I will paste this in the chat for you. And if you want to hang out with me and Jem, please, we'd love to have you guys over there. And I would love to hear and think about, use the next 15 minutes, think about your dream list. What camera, lenses, lights, other gear, audio gear would you get if you had no limit to your budget? You would just buy whatever you want for your production company, channel, whatever it is that you do. And it'd be a lot of fun. In the meantime, next week we've got that 20 gear items under $20 each, which ought to be a lot of fun. Really enjoyed all of you guys hanging out with you. Thank you so much for your donations, comments, kind words, and always enjoy spending a little bit of time with my people. So I hope you have a wonderful evening. See you at the C47, and have a great night.